Well, hello there, how is everyone? I hope you're all well on this fantastic, fantabulous Friday. I was trying to fit a third one in there, but I ran out of time and my brain weren't working quick enough. But yes, it is indeed Friday. We've made it. TGI, TFI, Friday and all that good stuff. You're looking absolutely fabulous, absolutely amazing, and we've got some stuff to talk about. And look, we are going to be talking about some other stuff on this channel very, very soon. But as some of you will know, especially other creators, some things take time when you want to start looking at cases properly. And it takes a lot of homework and digging and diving. And some of you have sent me some cases to indeed look at. And there's some that I want to do an overview on as well, sort of pushing them all together as we talk about some of the bigger problems that we are facing both here in the UK, Canada, Australia, even the US, all over the world, and how that is sort of culminating into huge issues. But today we are sticking with Idaho 4 because there is two things I want to talk about today. That is, first of all, Bryan Kohberger, if he was the person who did this crime, if he is the guy, if he's the man, because we have to accept that there could be that possibility that he did it. We can't be ignorant enough to say that he didn't, even though there are so many questions. Sometimes if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a motherfucking duck. But there are some things that even if it is Bryan Kohberger, we do have to have answered. And later on today, in video 2, I'm going to be going some way towards looking at the knife sheath, which seems to be the bone of contention. A lot of you feel that the knife sheath absolutely means that he did it. And the fact that it's in there, it's got his DNA on it, is closed door, bang, done, line him up, gone. And I'm going to help you understand why it's not quite as easy as that. So first of all, look, if you've seen the thumbnail, you know what this video is about already, but I am aware that some of you have autoplay on, so you don't get to see my beautiful, beautiful thumbnails. That I am thinking about changing, by the way. If you've got any ideas on changing thumbnails, you think that I should change them, please let me know down below. If you think they should be left alone, then do that as well. And if you've got any artwork that you would like me to include in videos, send that across as well and I'll see what I can do. I've got one currently in the top corner, you will see, from Mr. DUFFMAN. Thank you very much, my friend. It was fantastic and it's staying. But who knows? There's a room down there for more, isn't there? Anyway, shut up. Let's get on. Let's crack on. And we're talking about Bryan Kohberger. So Bryan Kohberger, if he was indeed the person who'd done this crime, what questions need to be answered? That would be a long video, wouldn't it? If we went through every single thing, every single question, this would be a long video. And I do feel that perhaps there's something that we need to look at one day. The actual, if you wanted to be happy that this was proper justice and, you know, it's him and this is just a case of going through the motions and getting it sorted, how many questions and what are the questions that would have to be answered to make everyone happy? Because there's a lot. But Bryan Kohberger, recon versus help. And what do we mean by that? What we mean by that is, look, at the end of the day, this crime was basically someone entering into this home. Someone, whether it was Bryan, whether it was someone else, whether it was more than one person. Now, I say more than one person because more than one person would kind of make this make more sense, because it would take away some of the difficulties that I would imagine that one person going into this house would have faced. But look, at the end of the day, we have to go by what we're being told by law enforcement, and that is that Bryan Kohberger did it. Bryan Kohberger's the man, and he did it on his own. Now, I must say, I'm not 100% happy with that, and what with Demetrius and Emma Bailey seemingly walking free, you almost have to, and I believe there was another creator. If you know who said this, let me know down below, because I don't know who that creator was, but I'm sure some of you will know. And I believe it was about the fact that perhaps law enforcement felt that they didn't have enough to charge Bryan Kohberger, so they perhaps leveraged on other people who they felt could have been involved, perhaps to try and twist them to shit on Brian Kohberger. You know, it does make sense to a degree, because ultimately they are going to need more. I know all these people keep coming forward and saying, you don't know everything, there's got to be more, we are the public and they don't have to let the public have access to everything. But what you are right is, they certainly need more. So what we see, if that's all we get, that ain't going to be enough. And later on, in video 2, I'm going to prove that. But, look, so Brian Kohberger, say he's the guy. We're gonna work this video as if Brian Kohberger is indeed the person who done it. So Brian Kohberger gets up. He's at home. He decides, right, I'm off. I'm going to do this crime, and he gets up, gets his, gets the weapon, but he doesn't attach it to himself. He obviously puts it in a pocket or something like that, or he just holds it in his hand. But at that point, when he's picked up the weapon, there's something else missing. And that is that unless you have done reconnaissance or you have inside knowledge and you have been assisted in some way, there are some things missing here. And that is, and I've touched on this, but I see in the comments some people still don't understand, they still don't get it. And that is that this is a student accommodation. He already knows what house he's going into, he's got to. So he's picked the house. And this is a student house, this is going to have multiple students in it. So how does he feel that he's going to get into the house to start with? How does he know he can get into the house? You've got a sliding door, a rear sliding door, and you've got the front door. So does he think he's going to get into the front door? And if he's going to get into the front door, how is he going to get into the front door? Is he just going to knock up, pretending that he is a DoorDash driver, for instance? Is he going there with the intention of, I'm pretending that I'm a delivery driver and I've got a delivery for you, knock on there and then go in, burst in like that? It's a possibility. Or is he going to climb up and get through a window? But then surely that's going to make noise. You're going to rouse who's in the room, and that's not necessarily going to work. So it does then leave the sliding door, which means that he must have knowledge, prior knowledge, that the sliding door even exists, because the sliding door is most likely going to be his easiest point of access. But he still has to know that that door is unlocked on that night. Doesn't matter whether it's been unlocked previously or he's gone on there several nights and it's been unlocked, perhaps. Maybe that's where reconnaissance comes in. Maybe he has literally been to this house multiple times, and every single time he's been, he has tried that door and that door has been open. Because unless that's true, he should have taken something to that house in order to get in. Or he is a specialist at breaking into those style doors. Now, some people will know that these sliding doors aren't the best. They're not the safest. They can sometimes be lifted out of the frame and moved along. I'm not a burglar, by the way. I've just been told that that's how you can get into these sort of things. But you can lift the door, shift it along and get in. But ultimately, that has to be part of your thought process. The first part of this crime, when you take away getting to the crime, which we'll touch on that in a second, but once you are there, you've still got to get into the house. And then once you've got through that door, you've then got to understand that this person may consider the fact that each individual door in this house that contains people or a person is also going to be locked. Because generally, student accommodation, students have their own rooms, their own locks, just like Brian Kohberger's did. There was a room inside his apartment that he didn't have access to because he rented what was in fact a 2-room room, but only one room within that 2-room room. Get me? So, you've got to, if you're going to do a crime like this, all these things have to be part of your thought process. They must be. Because you're not just going to think, well, I'm going to go in this house, or I'm going to go to this house, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive my own car to this house, not park 2 miles down the road either. I'm going to literally drive right outside the house after I've made sure that everyone in the neighbourhood have seen me on camera. and then I'm going to park outside, and then I'm going to go in with my weapon either in my hand or tucked in my pocket. Hopefully they're deep pockets, you know, they're really deep, but in my pocket. And then I'm going to go to this house with nothing in my hands, unless he had a crowbar or something like that, which we don't, you know, there's no sign of breaking an entry, but maybe he did indeed take a crowbar with him. But then surely he would have also taken that into the house. Who knows? But we know that the person who saw him leave didn't say that in one hand he had a crowbar and in the other hand he had a weapon. They just said that they saw him leave. You would have thought that maybe that would have been an explanation as to what put Dylan Mortensen into this frozen shock phase. If she saw this man clad in black, and in one hand he's wielding a dripping weapon, and the other hand he's got a crowbar that was the intended purpose was to get into rooms. But you have to answer that question. You have to answer the question as to how he or she was thinking that they were going to get into the house, and once they were in the house, how they would then access the people inside the house. And like I say, that is either reconnaissance or it's insider knowledge. Someone has told the person who comes into the house that now is a time that you can get in. We've got a situation where the door is unlocked and the people are in their rooms and their doors aren't locked. Again, that's the only answer to that question. Someone who is going to do this crime isn't just going to go there and think they're going to kick the door in. They're going to kick all the doors in, because that in this crime just don't wash for me. It just doesn't make sense. And I think that if the defence were to go at the jury in terms of, well, you know, what you're trying to say is that this was premeditation, so you then have to, if you're thinking along the lines of this must have been a crime where someone had prior knowledge to this property, you then have to prove that this person who is being accused had the prior knowledge required in order to do this crime. And the only way would have been reconnaissance. Now, we know that they're trying to say that Bryan Kohberger did frequent the area up to 12 times. But we also know that there was periods with which his phone had pinged in the area, but law enforcement stated that they don't believe that he was in the area. So that then throws doubt over any evidence that would say that he was shown in the area, when they themselves have basically stated that that evidence is not the most reliable. And again, I'm not spitballing, I'm not making that up. That is what has been said. But like I say, there's no two ways about this. Bryan Kohberger had either, or whoever did this, had either been in that property, actually in that property, had knowledge of the locks in the doors, where the doors were, and the fact that he could have got in there and quietly accessed the rooms. At least one room. And that would have been the first room that he went to. Because what we've got to understand is that we believe, or we've been led to believe, that this was potentially a targeted incident. So at least one room, he must know that he can get through the external door, in there, where to go once he's got inside that property. Now, I know people have said that they can look, you know, you can do reconnaissance online. So that is something that the prosecution will look at to see whether he has been bringing up schematics of the house. But if he hasn't, again, you then have to think to yourself, how does he know how to navigate that house so swiftly and get to where he is if we're saying this was a target attack? And even if it wasn't a target attack, then what made him go there first? Now, again, I said yesterday, in terms of how this house was attacked and going up to the top level first shows a degree of, I would say, military skill, because I believe that someone from the military doing this kind of attack would have gone in that vein. They'd have gone in there to go and do this in the safest way possible to them, which would have been to have gone to the top floor and work their way down and back out. And we know that there are, sadly I have to touch on this because it's a fact, there is ex-military in the area, or there was ex-military in the area, who subsequently went on to threaten to kill their own roommates and was taken out by SWAT. So look, this was a very military style operation, and you can't get away from that. I'm not pointing the finger at anyone, but I'm just saying that you have to consider that that's how this was done. There was thought, there was planning, there must have been reconnaissance, and if there wasn't reconnaissance, there must have been someone giving information from inside that property, or someone who had been in that property previously. Someone had knowledge of that house, whether it was, and I'm not saying it was necessarily a roommate who was in there, it could have been someone else who had been inside that property, someone else who had a problem with someone in that property. But for this person who done this crime, I'm telling you now that they had knowledge of inside that property, 100%, and that was either done through reconnaissance or someone giving them the information that they needed. Let me know down below if you think I'm wrong, and let me know down below why you think I'm wrong, if you think I'm wrong. Because I don't see any other way. I do not believe that this was a crime where someone up sticks and thought, I'm going to go over there and I'm just going to break in, and then I'm going to get in the house and I'm going to break into the doors once I'm in there. I'm going to kick him in, or I'm going to jimmy him open, and because that just wouldn't have worked. And if they were willing to do that, would one person have been willing to do that? Because I do feel, like I said at the beginning of this video, if multiple people were doing it, then I can see that multiple people could have broken in there and felt that that wouldn't have mattered if they had to smack doors open, because there was multiple assailants. And it would have been easier crowd control, if you like. But again, let me know down below. Was there reconnaissance? Did Brian Kohberger do this crime, and was he doing reconnaissance on this property? And was this, and how was this done? Did he actually get physically inside here? Do you believe that he did it? Because again, if you do, and if you feel that's something that he did, we still have to prove that he'd done that. Now, if we can't prove that there's any connection whatsoever, and we can't pinpoint his location really to here without questions, then they have to prove that he perhaps looked at the property online to give him an inside look at the property and how to navigate it. Let me know down below, and I'll catch you all in video 2.